across this country are lining up to receive their first dose of Pfizer's COVID vaccine. Kids 5 to 11 finally eligible. Over the weekend, that included a friend over on Sesame Street, the forever 6-year-old Big Bird, who despite a bit of a sore wing, got his shot to promote the vaccine. President Biden even congratulated Big Bird, thanking him for keeping his famous neighborhood safe. Enter notable buzzkill Ted Cruz, who we should point out is vaccinated, but is opposed to any federal vaccine mandates, tweeting, quote, "Government propaganda for your 5-year-old." Cruz's ridiculous, seemingly faux outrage highlights the absurdity of Republicans who are using vaccines, at this point vaccines for our kids, as a culture war flashpoint to rile up the far fringes of their base. We're back with Steve and Claire. Steve, this is one place that I had hoped so desperately would stay sort of free from the politics. It would appear Ted Cruz can't help himself.
Can't help himself, and if Ted Cruz had kids that age, the chances that they would be unvaccinated are exactly zero. And so this is another moment of just abject stupidity from a United States senator from one of the nation's mega states. In a really serious moment, a serious time for the country. We have big problems. We have big challenges. We are at the end of one era, the time frame from the end of the Second World War to about 2016 and the beginning of a new one. Our leaders don't seem matched to their responsibilities, and highest on that list, really, with few peers, are the Josh Hawleys and the Ted Cruzes and the Kevin McCarthys and the whole lot of them. I mean, just of all the things that you could get up and use your platform to talk about, how stupid. And to spread anxiety for families, knowing that this vaccine can save the lives of children who thankfully aren't the prime danger class from COVID, but we don't really know what the consequences of long COVID and these other factors are. And vaccines have been part of American life, thank God, creations of American science for decades, and have saved because of them lives from misery, disease, and death. And to see someone who's had every educational privilege and every opportunity in this country doing that and doing it from high office, it's just despicable.
I wonder, Claire, about how dangerous people without shame are. I think about it all the time. I make a mistake, I'm embarrassed and ashamed for days, but I wonder how free Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz must feel, that if they don't feel shame, they can engage in what Steve's talking about, stupid, dangerous politics.
Let's simplify this. We now have data that since the vaccinations came on the scene, and since people like Ted Cruz have decided to make it a political weapon instead of everybody encouraging public health, we now know that in the Trump counties, people are dying 5 times more frequently. 150,000 unvaccinated people have died since June the 1st. 150,000 people whose lives could have been saved. This is not about politics. This is deadly serious. And it is so depressing to me that these guys would try to get political gain out of something that is killing people. It is unbelievable.
And killing their voters more than anyone else's.
Their voters more than anyone else's.
Steve, what happens next?
I think that when you look at the totality of all these acts, right, these are the greatest acts of public immorality in the modern history of the country, maybe in the entire history of the country, from high officials, at least from the post-Civil War era. I don't know what's comparable to it. The country is in a lot of trouble. It seems when you look at the results and the headwinds that Democrats face, and Congressman, as you pointed out, a year's a long time in politics and anything can happen. But if you just look at the fact that only 3 times in the last 120 years has the incumbent president's party picked up seats in that first midterm, it seems like we're headed towards a final determination on some grave questions in a 24 election with a divided Washington, a Republican-controlled House likely, a Democratic president, Senate to jump ball. We'll see 2 years of cynicism and chaos, and then the American people are going to have to decide. You know, I started a group to fight in the last campaign, and that group had a premise that the election was about Trump. That Trump was the issue. He was the first 15 million issues in the race. Even if Trump's on the ballot in the next election, that's not what the race is going to be about. It's not going to be about Trump next time. It's going to be about us. It's going to be about what type of country do we want to live in. Do we want to continue to live in a country where the people pick their leaders as opposed to a leader declares he's in charge? Do we want to live in a nation of laws and rules and equality? You know, we have big questions on the ballot. The solvency of the country, the future of the country, the magnitude of the technological changes we'll see over the next 20 years with impact on working class people, enormous issues. And so this next election, I see it clear as day. And what I see ahead is a constitutional crisis when one party refuses to yield to the results of an election if they lose. And that's the precedent that's been laid down and is unresolved. And despite all of these bills, and God knows we need to fix infrastructure in the United States. I mean, we have an infrastructure of a third world country in a lot of places. But a year on from the insurrection, we have done nothing to harden and protect the American democracy from a president like Trump or a future president like Colley, who have no scruples, have no conscience, have no guardrails. And so that's what this moment in time is. And I think that's what the debate's going to be about as we move forward.
We'll stay on it with your help. Steve Schmidt, Claire McCaskill, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. The next hour of Daily White House starts after a very short break. Don't go anywhere.